All right, how to do a bound buttonhole. So we're going to set this up as this is the fabric, this is your coat. This is the seam allowance. We want to measure back 1 inch parallel to the seam allowance, and the buttonholes will go on the right side. So we'll make sure that this is the right side. The welts to the bound buttonhole, we cut a strip 1 inch long on the lengthwise grain line, fold it in half, and the width will be the size of your button plus 1 inch. So you'll have a 1/2 inch seam allowance on both sides. Then you want to take those and measure. So for instance, we doing a 1 inch buttonhole, you will divide that by 4 and you will extend past center front towards your seam allowance, whatever that 4th is. So in this case, it's a 1/4 inch. So when you button your coat, it's going to lock all the way to the end, and then half of the button will hang past. So say we did, this is our button, right? This is the button. That's where it's going to finish at. It's going to lock right here. As a matter of fact, it will go back and lock right there. So it's not hanging off the edge or close to the edge of your finished coat. Yeah, you seen stuff when people sew and then they buttonhole be way over here too close, because you need to know where the placement stops at. So it's 1 inch here, it's going to come back 1/4 here. That's where the button is actually going to finish at. So after I just took a long strip and stitched it at a 1/4 inch. So the foot, if it's a 1/4, if not, follow the guideline on the machine. 1/4 inch seam allowance, press it, crease it, and then line the two of them up together and make sure that these line up with each other, because you're going to stop here, you're going to start here and stop there, or start there and stop there, whichever way. And we want to put the two of them together and make sure that they kiss each other. So this center line is the edge, and this is the edge. They meet each other in the center. And of course, again, we want to check and make sure these two are lining up exactly the same. We want them all to be the same all the way across the whole thing. All right, so I recommend that you do not backstitch.
Okay.
Do not backstitch, because the backstitch, when you go back, it goes 1 stitch past where you want to go, or 1 stitch further than where you want to go, and then you're going to have to pick it out and fix it. So if you don't want to backstitch, you can either start right at your mark. So we sewn on the exact same line that you set up before. That's your guideline. And you can either do a few stitches forward, turning the hand wheel. You can turn around and do it and go back. That way it's secured. Or you don't have to do it at all. Just start there and stop at that point, and then pull them through the back and tie them in knots by hand. Because this is very meticulous. So we have our center. We following our guideline. I want to make sure I stop on that point. So if I see that the needle is going past that point, I'm going to lift my foot up and go back and make it go exactly where I want it. And like I said, you can turn this back around, but you still have to keep it exactly on the same stitches because it's so tiny. So after we get the one finished, we need to do the other. Check, make sure they're lining up on your guideline and they parallel to one another. That thread do not want to go under that foot. So this one I'm going to just sew it straight. See, when one stitch passed there, I needed to stay right where I need it. So I just moved it back. And then I'm going to sew that stitch.
You moved it back, but you didn't do a back stitch.
I didn't do a back stitch this time because I want you to see that you take it and you just pull the thread. See that came through? So you can see you can do it one way or the other. and then just knot it off. And just trim the thread. So if I pull that, the top thread pulled right through the back. This thread don't want to come through. It must be caught. Yeah. There we go. And tie it in a knot. And then I want to find my center, which is a quarter. And then just like we did the welt in the bottom pocket, remember we did that little triangle. It's exactly the same. It's very precise. The exact same process. And you can make these smaller, but the smaller you make them, the more difficult they are to sew. So I'm going to cut it first right in the center. And then I'm cut up to my stitch and make sure I don't go past it. And again, right up to my stitch. And I can trim the extra threads away. This buttonhole is the perfect buttonhole for those large buttons. That look so good. You need your embroidery scissors for this. And then we're just going to take it and push it through. So all of this process is on the right side of the fabric. Except for now, they're really small. And then the two of these, they should just meet each other. They just meet. You want to push the triangle back to the wrong side. And I would do a basting stitch first to see if it's lining up right. And the stitch length should be like 1.5. All right, so it's really small. You don't want to do all this work and then come loose.
Right.
Right? So I would just stitch across it first. And make sure it's right. It should all just lay out flat. This one, same thing. Push it back. And then after you know it's right and it's laying flat, then go back and stitch it again and back stitch it to secure it. And there is your bound buttonhole.
It does.
You can, while you're waiting to sew the facing also, you know we have to finish the back of that.
Right.
So if we had the facing and we located our button, say for instance that was my facing, right?
April had just did that.
I know, you said I know, I was like, yeah, that's it. We're gonna locate exactly where it's at, and you're gonna do the same thing to know where you're gonna finish it at. If I cut it, let me just cut it. Stuff you probably would have to hand slip stitch it, you could, or you can machine stitch it, but it's a little more difficult to do it with the machine because of the manipulation. So that would fold back. See that? Mm-hmm. Fold back, hand slip stitch it all the way around. Mm-hmm. But you know, first this here would be attached to this, the facing, right? Yep, but that's how you do it. And you finish it by hand. All right?
So that's only custom. You can't do that in the industry. And without
No,
hand.
this is, yeah,
That's only custom.
right. Because you know how much it would cost, right? Mm-hmm.